Chasing the fast life of Japan, a girl named Lucie was at the wrong place at the wrong time. The worry her loved ones had for her after her disappearance would prove true and is their worst nightmare. Lucie Jane Blackman was born in Sevenoaks, Kent, England, the oldest of 3 children. Born on the 1st of September 1978, she was named Lucie, which means light in Latin. She never did like shadows, and was aptly named for her love of bright city lights. She even slept with a nightlight well into adulthood, apparently afraid of the dark. Lucie was a fun, intelligent young girl, and at 22 years old she was quite adventurous. Sadly, Lucie would lose her life to one of the most prolific serial rapists of Japan. If you enjoy learning about wicked stories and dark tales, you will love this story. Let's dive right into it. Always one for adventure, Lucie decided to work as an air hostess for British Airways. Traveling the world had always been a dream, and this job suited Lucie. Still, craving for new adventures, Lucie and her childhood friend Louise Phillips decided to make a drastic change in their lives. They moved to Japan together in the year 2000. Despite only having a 90-day visa, the 2 girls decided they wanted something more permanent. They lied to Lucie's father about British Airways offering discounted tickets, or the fact that they would be gaining jobs legally. They even said Louise's aunt would offer them a place to stay in Japan. The girls stayed at a hostel and started looking for a job to pay off Lucie's credit card debt. Charmed by Japan's fast lifestyle, Lucie got a job as a hostess at Casablanca, a club in Tokyo. Her visa was strictly a tourist visa, which meant she wasn't allowed to work. Yet somehow, Lucie still had some debts to pay off, so she started working at this club. Hostesses in Japanese clubs typically offer company to their guests. Guests are basically paying customers who go to such clubs seeking drinks and some conversation. It is a modern version of a geisha. There is a strict no sexual advances policy for such entertainers. These hostesses are highly encouraged to go on paid dates called dohan with their clients. Lucie's new workplace demanded their hostesses go on several dohans with customers monthly. Lucie had a dohan scheduled for July 1st, 2000, and her friend Louise couldn't help but worry about her safety. As the night progressed, Lucie made multiple phone calls, mainly to Louise, assuring her she was fine. During one of these conversations, she mentioned that her date was very nice, and had even gifted her a mobile phone and a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne. However, despite the seemingly positive experience, Lucie's whereabouts remained unknown, and she assured her friend she would be home in half an hour. The last person to hear her voice was her boyfriend Scott Fraser. Scott was an American Marine, currently aboard an aircraft carrier USS Kitty Hawk, stationed in the port of Yokosuka. She left him a voice message, promising that she would meet him the next day. Sadly, this was the last anyone would hear Lucie's voice. Lucie didn't return home that day, and her friend Louise immediately suspected something was wrong. Lucie never stayed out late without checking in with her friend or calling her. The next day, she got a phone call from a man. He said his name was Akira Takagi, but the strange name wasn't the worrying part. He claimed Lucie had joined a cult and didn't want to be disturbed, that she was undergoing training. He said she was practicing a new way of life and had moved into the cult's dormitory. She didn't want to be disturbed because she had so much to learn. Lucie found that very disturbing. It wasn't like her friend at all to just pack up and join a cult of all things. Alarmed, Louise didn't waste any time, and she certainly didn't take the man's word for it. She contacted Lucie's family to explain what had happened, who came to Tokyo to look for her. Unfortunately for them, the Japanese police were not very cooperative initially, especially when they realized she was working illegally. In their experience, such women ran away to Bali or Thailand with their boyfriends, and they believed Lucie had done that, since her tourist visa would soon expire. They simply refused to carry out a proper investigation. But Lucie Blackman's family ran a high-profile media campaign. They also got hold of British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who was visiting Tokyo. Newspapers ran her disappearance news by July 13th. Even the British Prime Minister Tony Blair spoke of Lucie with Japanese Prime Minister during his visit to Japan. An anonymous businessman floated £100,000 as reward money to find out any clue, anything about Lucie Blackman. A special hotline that was run by British expatriates was opened up to gather any information. Lucie's case began to attract widespread attention when a group of determined individuals joined forces. Louise, the Blackman family, the British press, and even British Prime Minister Tony Blair worked tirelessly to bring awareness to Lucie's disappearance. In a remarkable display of diplomatic intervention, Blair, during his visit to Japan, interceded with the Japanese government, persuading them to launch an investigation into the case. Although the Japanese police initially hesitated, the combined efforts of these individuals ultimately led to a breakthrough in the investigation into Lucie's disappearance. The publicity surrounding Lucie's case led to a breakthrough in the investigation, as 3 foreign women came forward to describe waking up feeling unwell and disoriented in Joji Obara's bed, with no recollection of the previous night. Shockingly, some of these women had previously reported Obara to the Roppongi police, but their complaints were ignored. This revelation shed light on the institutional failings of the Japanese justice system in handling sexual assault cases, and added fuel to the growing outrage over Lucie's disappearance. During this time, investigators also made a crucial connection between Obara and the man known as Nishita, linking multiple cases of sexual assault to the same perpetrator. But first, a little bit about Joji Obara. Who was this man? How was he linked to the alleged sexual assaults of foreign women? Joji Obara was born as Kim Sung-jong on the 10th of August, 1952, to Korean parents in Osaka, Japan. Obara's father was a hard-working man. He worked from being a scrap collector to a real estate owner, buying properties and pachinko parlors. Obara received the best education in Tokyo's private schools, and by age 15, he was enrolled in a top prep school that was affiliated with Keio University, almost guaranteeing a seat in the university. When Obara was only 17, his father passed away, resulting in Obara inheriting a lot of property in Osaka and Tokyo. After graduating from Keio University with degrees in politics and law, Obara became a naturalized Japanese citizen and changed his name legally. Following in his father's footsteps, he invested in real estate and gained up to $38 million in return. Unfortunately, in the 90s recession, he lost his entire fortune and was reduced to using his business for money laundering for the Yakuza, Japanese criminal gang, in order to pay back his creditors. Obara developed drug addiction and had a history of sexual assault allegations. Women would often go on a date with Obara, then black out. They would wake up sick and sore, and whenever they filed a complaint, they were mostly ignored. Joji Obara was obsessed with white women, who were viewed as a status symbol in Japan. Being with a white woman was the ultimate sign that you were somebody. Finally, on October 12, 2000, Obara was arrested on the charges of sexual assault when police was forced to take a woman seriously because of her persistence. Upon searching through his belongings, they uncovered a trove of horrors that would lead to solving the mystery of what happened to Lucie Blackman. After police had a warrant for arresting Obara, they gained access to his home. Police recovered hundreds of videotapes of Obara, where he filmed himself drugging and then sexually assaulting several young women, rendering their claims to be true. There were also extensive journals that shed a light into Obara's deep hatred of women. He didn't just hate the gender, he strongly believed that women were only good for sex. His euphemism for sexual assault was conquest play, and he believed women were put on earth for men to take pleasure. One particular video showed Obara with an unconscious woman, who was known to have died from chloroform. Authorities identified 21-year-old Carlita Ridgway, an Australian model, who was recorded in Obara's journal as Carlita Ridgway, too much chloroform. Hospital staff confirmed he had brought Ridgway to the hospital, working under an alias Nishita. The young model's cause of death was initially concluded as of hepatitis E. However, examining her liver led to reveal that there was chloroform in her bloodstream. This helped police pin him down for murder charges. Finally, on the 9th of February 2001, police found Lucie Blackman, or rather, what remained of the promising young girl. Police discovered the dismembered dead body buried in a shallow grave underneath a bathtub at a seaside cave in Miura, Kanwagawa, 30 miles outside Tokyo, and only 1 mile away from Obara's condo. Due to the body's advanced, decomposed state, police were unable to identify her cause of death. She appeared to have been cut into 10 pieces by a chainsaw, each part of her body put in a separate bag. In grisly details, her head was shaved and encased in concrete. Obara claimed Lucie had taken drugs, whereas investigators believed he made his special drug cocktail for the woman, to knock her unconscious and assault her. Obara pleaded not guilty to the allegations. Although there was no conclusive evidence linking Joji Obara to Lucie Blackman's death, both the authorities and her family strongly believed that he was responsible. The prosecution made a compelling circumstantial case for Obara's guilt, highlighting several key pieces of evidence. On July 2, 2000, the day after Lucie disappeared, Obara called local hospitals seeking advice on how to resuscitate a drug overdose victim. This bizarre behavior raised suspicions and marked Obara as a person of interest in the case. Several days later, Obara's neighbors heard strange noises coming from his condo, further fueling speculation. A search of his computer revealed disturbing search history, including queries such as how to dispose of a body and sulfuric acid. The Japanese police discovered a receipt in Obara's home showing that he had purchased a chainsaw, cement mix, and other tools from a hardware store just days after Lucie's disappearance. To this day, the chainsaw in question remains missing. Additionally, blonde hairs that were later determined to be Lucie's were found in Obara's apartment. Taken together, these pieces of evidence presented a compelling case for Obara's guilt in Lucie's disappearance and death, though he never confessed to the crime. In a surprising turn of events, and much to the disappointment of Lucie's loved ones, her father, Tim Blackman, accepted £450,000 from one of Obara's friends. This was supposedly condolence money, after which he signed a document that weakened the prosecution's case and questioned the evidence they had against Obara. Lucie's mother, Jane Blackman, Tim's ex-wife, rejected such an offer. Tim defended his actions, claiming he accepted the money since filing a civil suit seemed pointless, and at least this would be some sort of compensation for losing his daughter. He used a big portion of this money to create the Lucie Blackman Trust to help British nationals in crisis in a foreign country. In April 2007, 7 years after the murder of Lucie Blackman, Joji Obara was found guilty by Tokyo High Court in the murder of Carlita Ridgway and for raping 8 women. Obara was sentenced to life in prison. Due to lack of evidence linking him to Lucie's murder, he was acquitted of charges regarding her disappearance and murder. Lucie's family appealed the verdict, and a new trial took place in 2008, with forensic evidence that was unavailable during the original trial. By December 2008, Joji was finally found guilty of abduction, dismembering and wrongfully disposing Lucie Blackman. While Obara claims he is innocent, his appeal was rejected by Supreme Court, and he is still serving life in prison. Investigators speculate that Obara may have assaulted up to 400 women. Lucie's story will be highlighted in 2023 Netflix docuseries Tokyo Crime Squad, The Lucie Blackman Case. While Lucie Blackman received a tragic end to a vivacious life, the Tokyo police has been heavily criticized for handling the case poorly simply because a foreigner was working illegally in Tokyo. The lack of evidence in original trials also showcases their incompetence in the matter. Tokyo, Japan remains a beautiful city of lights, but it is also a reminder that no matter how advanced a city or country is, danger could be lurking around every corner. That's it for today's video. Please follow us for more videos on true crime.